Welcome in, Minnesota high school football fans. Back at it again, a week 6 edition to the Minnesota High School Football Network podcast. I'm here joined by Andover's Andover's, they claim him, and we'll see some of the gear that he has, and you can see it in the background, his nice setup, you know, takes pride in it, but Coach Wilkie's back to join me, once again and have some fun talking about every class in Minnesota. How
Yeah,
are you doing?
great to be here. I was trying. You got to figure out my title. Former head coach, Andover High
Former head
School.
coach,
Yeah,
but it's Andover's own, I
yeah.
mean,
No, I did it for a
they
long time.
definitely claim you.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
giving us some shout outs on online too as well,
yeah.
so
Well,
appreciate that.
yeah. No, it's good. Yeah, like I said, if people don't know my background that watch the show, like I was a high school football coach, 37 years, 32 in the high school, 18 as the head coach at Andover, and last 5 years I was at Augsburg as the offense coordinator. So a little bit of football in my background, and Andover's kind of my baby. But so I will talk about them in just a few minutes. But we probably have to start with that Tonka EP game.
Yeah, I mean, let's just get right into it. I'll
Yeah,
pop the ooh, there we go. I'll
you
pop
got
the
it.
rankings up
There you
here.
go. There you
So
go.
yeah, I mean, coach, just give me your thoughts on what you
Yeah.
saw go down.
So I did get a good look at this game. I will tell you, really hats off to Minnetonka when you lose your starting quarterback and you have a week to scramble and you're playing a really solid team like Eden Prairie. Just an incredible job. Tonka didn't throw one pass. Caleb Francois had to come in and no, he played quarterback last year after Milovich went down and did an incredible job. They basically ran outside zone, inside zone, and quarterback counter,
Yeah.
and just diced it with with that game plan. Really impressive. Obviously, the defenses were sound on both sides of the ball, but that game was, I don't know. I guess it would be fun to see what the actual clock time was when there's no passes thrown. The game might have
Right.
taken a hour. You know what I mean? So I do want to shout out though the running back for Tonka, Quentin Restropo. He was solid. He's a good running back, kind of a stout little dude, quick, his jump cuts, and then obviously Caleb Francois is just a fantastic player. I don't know if you saw the end of the game. EP did have a wide open
The wheel
receiver.
route.
Yeah, they dropped the ball, so that game could have gone differently. I think one of the things that I talked about with a couple people as we're leading up to the show, just some friends, as we're talking about the games that we see. I think it's so important, and I tried to do my best job of getting through all of the games, and I know you do too. The scores that you see, if you're only looking at scores on win and loss, just rarely tell the story. And there's a couple of those I want to talk about where it looks like they got blown out or whatever, and the games are a lot closer in most of these situations than we probably realize if you're just looking at a box score in the paper or online. So
Yeah,
anyway,
because who knows if that game goes to overtime, it's anybody's game,
of
right?
course,
So
of course, of course,
I like when you look at the rankings, EP was 5 last week, and they bump up 2 spots with the loss. That's kind of highlighting exactly what you said there. That
Yeah, no, I feel that way too. Just shout out to Tonka on that because they hadn't beaten Eden
right.
Prairie
I
since
was so surprised when
2004,
yeah,
which
I
was
was really
crazy.
surprised when I heard
Yeah,
that
and Tonka
from
that was the year I
last
think
week.
Tonka won the state championship that year. That was Coach Nelson's year at his second year I think at Tonka. But yeah, heck of a game. I think your front line, the first three I think are pretty solid. First four I think are pretty solid. I love my boys at Forest Lake. Don't get me wrong. Coach B-Scow, fantastic, but I still question personally the Centennial Forest Lake thing and Andover being down in the third line on that. And I know you have issues with the
We'll get to it.
730 yards, right? But I think that first line, I like the first four. I just have an issue with Centennial being 6 after Andover beat them and all that kind of stuff. Wins are wins. You know what I have to say? Like wins are wins. They're not artistic, and you don't get style points. So that's that. You keep going on what you want to say, and then I'll come back to that.
Well, I had a Force Lake person tell me that I met a few in the parking lot yesterday, and it's like, "You're probably not gonna be happy because you're going down," and he was like, "Well, we probably shouldn't be 3," of just like they know that they are in the situation, that the state knows. Like, they don't play as much talent as, the West does.
Right.
They understand that, and they're chomping at the bit and wanting to prove to the state and get a quality win. So I think, um, that kinda sums that up.
No, I appreciate, to your point, you don't control your schedule. They can't control who they play, and when you have a good team, you have to do what you do. And I will give them credit. They have put those numbers up in those wins. It's just hard to match it and say
It
that
is.
a win over White Bear Lake is as good as, a win over Shakopee by Rosemont. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
those are
Their
different.
most quality win is probably gonna be the Prior Lake
The
game
first
that
game, yeah.
very well could have been
Mhm.
a game that went either way.
Sure.
We know Prior Lake was in the red zone with a minute left, and they went for it and didn't get
Mhm.
it. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, all valid points from you. But let's get into. I mean, we can combine the second and third row, and we can dive into this Centennial Andover if
Yeah,
you want
I
to grill me
think
for it.
I'll say, I'm just gonna say, like, obviously, I'm biased, but at the same time, I watched that game. And it was you say, I'll give Andover credit. They're down, what was it, halftime? Like, halftime was like 42-21 at half. There was a little disaster there at the end of half. And I think most teams, and credit to Andover, you're down 42-21 at half. People are leaving, right? And that game is over. And instead, they come storming out, and the defenses on both sides struggle. There's no question about it. But I'll get, props to Brady Rush, the running back for Anoka. Kid had 300 yards, 5 touchdowns.
Yeah,
He's a dude. Like, he breaks tackles and he finishes runs. But I'm going to keep shouting out Joseph Maps, and I think I text you that after the game. He's a top 3 quarterback in the state in my mind, and no doubt the best dual threat quarterback.
yeah. We were
If you
talking
haven't
about
watched,
that with Coach Lance, and
yeah,
the question was top 3 quarterback, and it's like you can make an argument. You can definitely make an argument for it, but other people also have an argument to be in the top 3. What I
mhm,
came up with is the number 1 dual threat quarterback for sure.
without a doubt. His numbers: he's 296 passing, 2 touchdowns, 156 rushing, 4 rushing touchdowns, 6 touchdowns in the game. There's a play in there in the third quarter, toward the end of the third quarter, on a speed option. He sticks his foot in the ground from about the 5 yards past the line of scrimmage and breaks every D-back's angle to him that we're at 10, 15. The kid can fly
I
too.
don't
So
think there's anybody in the history of high school football that's better at running the speed option
he's
than
good at it. It's a vision too. Shout out to Coach DeVellis at Andover as well too, because getting the ball back with 2 minutes to go, having to score a touchdown. They had all 3 timeouts. They had to go, I think, 55 yards roughly. They got the Andover defense got the one stop in the second half that they needed, and took it down. And I think maybe they only used 1 timeout.
yeah.
And 14 yards out, and Joseph sticks his foot in the ground, cuts back, weaves through some tackles, and scores the game winner. And big for
And over
people
to
around
kick
the,
return, right? Am I
yeah, that
wrong?
was
Am I right?
that was after Anoka's second touchdown,
Yep.
and Uyghur scored in that. But
He
yeah,
had
it's a
the
huge
bubble wrap.
rivalry game. The A-Town thing. Who's the real A-Town? Well, I guess we know who it is right now. It's Andover, at least this year. But just a crazy game. So I got a lot of gear tonight. So this is the first thing I'm wearing tonight. So I got the Andover football on, but I got some more stuff as we go through. Some coaches have sent some things to me. Other coaches, if you're watching, or our booster clubs, you want to get your gear on here, I'll wear it. So that's the first one tonight. I got more to come. So what else you got in this line?
Well, let's talk about the Centennial being over Andover because I know it doesn't seem fair. Uh, for those of you, it probably goes a little deeper into my reasoning. Yet, in I guess yesterday's podcast when this comes out with Coach Lance, but there's just a couple plays in that Andover Centennial game, and I know Andover can probably say the same thing the other way in a one-score game that your quarterback goes out for one play, important part of the game,
Mhm.
fumble to the other team. He also, it's like, maybe it was the first drive or second
Mhm.
drive. He had a wide open touchdown and threw the flat route for whatever reason. I think he's a better quarterback than that. And that's also 7 points left off the board. I just think there's a lot Centennial left on the table. And I think I don't know. I don't know if they're 5 or 6 spots, like, difference-wise, but I think
Mhm.
Andover's gonna be coming out with a 1 seed is my guess, but I
Well, they got to win
believe
out. They got
Centennial.
to win out,
Yeah,
because otherwise, the tiebreak. They do have it's that tiebreaker situation, but they both have to win out. If they win out, they get the tiebreaker. Andover's got Rogers this week, who Centennial just thumped 36 rock. So,
Yeah.
I don't like score comparisons because teams match up differently. I think Andover defense is a much better run stop defense. In the past, we saw that, but they also gave up a ton of yards on the ground there against Anoka. But I think overall, I think a running team like Rogers is going to be a better matchup for them, just like Centennial was. But there's some key games this week in these the top 10 for sure. So we'll know more again.
Yeah, and I think when you look at Shakopee and Edina have some of the biggest games coming up in there in the
Mhm.
second row, I think. And really, it's that kind of whole row. It's Shakopee plays Prairie Lake and Lakeville South plays Edina.
Mhm.
And there's going to be a lot to shake out just in that row. And I think Friday will be a telling of what's going to go on there.
Oh, no doubt. And I do think we are in that part of the season too, where there, like we've talked about in the past, there's an attrition that's going on. Teams are missing players. Sometimes they're missing key players. Sometimes they're missing players that we don't know about. It's the right
Exactly.
guard,
It's
or
really hard.
it's the left tackle,
Even if
or
it is like a receiver or whatever, it's high school football, so it's
Mhm.
hard to find,
Yeah, yeah,
injury news or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah. There's a reason that kid starts, and
Yeah.
if he's a playmaker, and I think the bigger injuries, honestly, are that people don't pay as much attention to are in the interior. You're missing a offensive lineman, and you got to put a young kid out there that's not experienced or undersized. Same on the defensive side of the ball. And I will tell you, at every level, but especially at the 6A level and 5A level, I feel like you will find those kids faster. That coach is going to say that kid's new. We're running at that. That corner's out. We're throwing at that guy. I just think that's a really easy adjustment in a game really fast. So that happens, and those are definitely game changers.
Yeah, when you look at the rankings, I think Oseo's another one that has been rising, and it's kind of odd when you look at kind of like what they're going through. Like they got smoked by Centennial, so I would say they're not on the Centennial Andover level, and I kind of put them on the same level, although they're separated in rankings wise. It's a 1 and 2 or a 1A and 1B
Hmm.
type scenario, and then I think Oseo is a real shot to get the 3 seed in the section.
Hmm.
I mean, they're battling Champlin. I think Champlin's probably the biggest competitor for that 3 spot.
Hmm. Oh yeah, I think Champlin's solid. I think, you know, again, you look at Rogers and Blaine. You look at their records, but those teams they've had games too where they've flip flop the score, especially Blaine. They're kind of an up and down team, and I don't know. I just don't think those teams, like, the records are deceiving for how solid they are in some of the games that they've been in. So, yeah, we're down. If you start looking at it with that Wednesday, or Friday game for some of those teams, like, we're getting down there at 3 weeks to go. So, yeah, the seeding these games are all hugely important for where you end up, and who you're going to cross over and play in that first round matters quite a bit.
Yes. Another just like interesting thing, I guess, is who's going to be 2 seed in the East. And you really see it's Forest Lake and as the one, and then kind of like we were talking about, there's a significant drop off, and the
Right.
next one is
Right.
basically a Woodbury that Forest Lake beat by 50,
Hmm.
and then it's a hodgepodge of Stillwater, Mountains View, and Eastridge, and I don't know, just interesting to see if it's gonna be actually Woodbury that pulls it out because Woodbury's been trending
Hmm.
down the past few years, and I think not a lot of people expected Woodbury to sniff a 2 seed,
Hmm.
but I think they're definitely right in the mix.
Yeah. No, again, I, we don't have all that vital information we don't get injury reports from high school teams, where I think that would be helpful. We've got a couple other games in the next level we'll talk about where there's some pretty key guys missing. Moorhead's in the same situation, right?
Yeah.
So I think they're hanging in there, but you know, that's a tough situation. That's quite a drop off, and I'm sure that backup quarterback's doing the best job he can, but he's not Jet Feeney. So
Nobody is.
no.
Anything else before we move on?
No, no, I think those matchups this week, I mean, if you're looking at, Tonka plays Wyzetta, Maple Grove plays STMA, EP plays Moorhead. Those three games those are easy. Rosemont, Lakeville North, will be interesting. Those two power running teams. Forest Lake's got I think another easy win in my eyes against Eastridge. So, and Centennial's not going to lose. They play Roseville. So,
Yeah.
there's not going to be much movement if that's how you like that. Or, I mean, we'll see what happens, I guess.
All right. Something new that we're going to start doing is it's
These are
going to be a little
$100, right?
complicated.
$100 of podcast
Yes.
money. Yep.
Of virtual podcast money.
I
Yes.
love that.
So I don't know what the best way to explain it is, but basically you're going to get to pick a game. I'm going to get to pick a game. And
Okay.
essentially, whatever game you pick, I turn into a fan of whoever you didn't, if that makes sense.
I got it.
And then we'll come back next week and we'll take tabs on our records for what it is. And
Got to grab my pen so I can.
The virtual currency will
I
be
love this.
swinging
It's
left
like
and right.
It's like Cole's Cash, something like that. I love it. I'm doing that.
Presented by.
Yes, we need a sponsor for this. Let's see. You going first or me?
I'll let you choose. You're the guest. I'll let you go first. So you can choose either game and choose your winner.
I'm gonna take I'm taking Edina. I'm gonna go first and take Edina.
Okay.
I feel like that. I feel like they are that offense is gonna be dynamic this week. Weather's perfect. Throw the ball around.
Perfect.
Score 5 touchdowns.
Perfect. And I think me and Coach Lance are talking about the Edina Maple Grove game and how that score turned out to be, really lopsided, but also not only injuries, but weather plays a factor, especially when you're playing a Maple Grove Edina game where Edina can't pass it because
right. It's just pouring rain.
Weather conditions. Yeah. So that's also a good thing. I really thought you're going to go Shakopee, and that would have kind of made it a little bit easier because I think I'm going to have some people mad at me for this one, but a lot of people know. Well, that makes me Lakeville South for this week. So go Cougars.
Yeah.
And I think I don't know. I might have picked them anyways if I had the first pick, but give me Prairie Lake. Give me an upset here.
Yeah, I wouldn't say no to that. I wouldn't say no to that. I only reason I went with Edina is like I like the ball in the air a little bit, so that other game's going to be like a running clock game. So, but I appreciate it. I'll. So you're going Prairie Lake on the upset?
I am.
I'll take Chaco. I mean,
yes,
I know a lot of good people in Shakopee. I'm going to root for that. I'm going to get their gear for next week when I went, or Edina. I'm going to be wearing that next week on win my Coles Cash on this thing.
We're definitely going to have, I don't know if you saw the Spring Lake Park locker room appearance that we had.
No.
Did you see that?
No. How did I miss that?
Yeah. I can send it to you after, but they apparently quoted the podcast and put it up in their locker room as bulletin board.
Probably something I said.
Well, I looked at my rankings and I think it was Armstrong will easily handle Spring Lake Park or something.
I would not say that. I would have picked us up.
Well, that's what I was saying. I don't remember us saying that. I don't remember me specifically saying that. The rankings that I did, I had Spring Lake Park a spot over Armstrong. So I don't know. I asked him and he said it was posted in the locker room Monday morning to like fire the guys up for the week. So who knows? But we're well aware of where our opinions can be, and
I'm just trying to check. I was looking at the I mean, I get it. I mean, they're solid. Like if you look at their highlights, I'm just trying to figure out like who would have said that.
I was
probably
curious.
you. It's probably you. It's probably you.
Yes.
I would say, I've known Coach Stewart for a while at SLP, but if he's anything like me, I'm going to reveal a secret here. I've been known to put fake quotes on my bulletin board, for little motivation. So that happens. Maybe it works. If it works, hey, go with it. Right.
And it definitely did for them.
Yeah, so, for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
I just
motivation matters.
It was fun.
Motivation matters.
All right. So our week 6 picks are in for
Got it.
For 6A.
Got it.
Let's go to 5A.
Yeah.
I guess Monticello is my biggest riser. I'm a big believer in Monticello and what they're doing over there. Really impressed me. And you take a look at like the whole body of work over the course of the season. They took Buffalo to school. I think it was this last matchup. So yeah, that's kind of what jumps out at me. And the biggest thing, otherwise, you see the top four didn't really change. They stayed put for the most
Yeah.
part.
No, I can't disagree with you on the Monticello pick. They have held it together really well and really put together, I think, a solid resume. I don't. I'll be honest with you. I think this is a good week 5, ranking. Do I think they're going to be there in week 8? I don't. I still think Elk River is going to slide back over there personally. Um, I think Chan is going to stay in that spot. I think if I picked a team to move up in there, I'd pick between SLP and Mayo. I really like what Mayo's doing. I went through and watched some of their stuff too. So I don't know. I mean, I agree. Hey, props to Monticello. They put together a good body of work, but I think I think Mayo and SLP are
Their
more
only loss this
physical.
season is a 7-0 loss to Alexandria.
Right. So you know what I'm saying right there. So I
Yep.
think that's, we'll see. We'll see. I think it's matchups matter. I always say that. So, but week 8 we'll know a little more.
Yeah, because they play Brainerd, which is
Yep.
still in the rankings, but
Yeah. You
compared to
love
the next
Brainerd.
2 weeks they're playing, they go against Elk River and Bemidji the
Yep.
last 2 weeks, which
Yep.
is definitely a tough last 2 weeks to end your season.
Yeah. Again, Elk River, the just blowout loss to Alexandria, but they come back this week and do what they do and beat Cambridge by whatever. So I'm sure 50 points. But and then Elk River they play Armstrong this week, and I have no doubt in my mind that's going to be a 48 something game. Like
Yeah.
they're solid. They bounce back pretty well. Yeah. So in that same group, Chan came back. East had their flash in the pan apparently.
Yeah.
And then Chan took care of them, pretty well. And I think they're still in a great position to be one of the final 4 teams, long term. The Chaska matchup with Chan is kind of like I just talked about the Anoka Andover or Lakeville South, Lakeville North matchup. Their big rivalry game, obviously in town, and that'll be a good one. The rumor on the street is, if our message board is right, that Chaska is missing a couple of key offensive players that could have played a role last week. I don't know if they'll be back. I guess in a rivalry game, if I was one of those kids and I could be back, I'd really try to be back. So
Yeah.
maybe that'll be a difference maker. But I'm looking forward to seeing either watching that whole game if they post it or at least getting through the clips.
Yes. Anything else sticking out between?
Well, I would say the one thing I want to do, my kind of game of the week that I watched just because was the Mankato West Chaska game. What happened, and I guess now if we have some insider there was some injuries, but I really thought West played well in that game. I was telling you before, we were talking about sometimes the scores don't tell the story, right? So there's a few things in there with Chaska and Chan, Chaska and West, but Chaska, they made use of a turnover and a long drive, ended up taking the lead 21-14 with 10 minutes to go in the 4th. They're up 21-14. West makes a couple big plays, ties the game with 7 minutes to go. The Chaska D holds, the West defense holds and gets the ball back, and West gets a 50-yard pass down inside and scores with a minute to go. So, I mean, you see 28-21, like there was some back and forth in there, some really good defensive play, but some really solid offensive stuff with Mankato West. Mankato West, they do a lot of cover zero. They really make it tough on the run game. So, maybe they're a little better team than maybe where they're ranked too, but that was a heck of a win over Chaska.
Yeah, Northfield is a team that I didn't think was going to be much of anything this season, but I think they've had a decent showing, a 3-2 record. They played Mayo,
right,
pretty tough as well. And when you think about that, it's a good indication that they at least played somebody to, that extent of being not a giant, but in that realm of things.
right.
And although they didn't win, they at least hung in there and didn't lose by 30 plus as well. So
Yeah.
another
Like
team
I said, and sometimes, like I was telling you earlier, I think sometimes we've got a few scores in here where it's like, 28-14. And it's like, wow, that feels like a blowout. But,
Yeah.
how did it get to be 21-14? And then when did that last score actually happen? Was there a stop? Was there a turnover? Things like that. So the games are so much closer than I think what we see on paper, how that piece goes.
Agreed. One of the other teams, Cooper, I think I had ranked in my preseason rankings. They started the season by losing to St. Francis, which my opinion has swung of St. Francis before, before the season. I don't think I had them ranked, and now they're a middle of the pack in my 25.
Right.
So that's not looking too terribly bad. And then they lost to Buffalo. They started the season off going 0-3, and I was like, what's happening with this Cooper team? They've played Park Center and Irondale, which aren't very good teams, but I think it's a chance for them to kind of adjust the trajectory of where
Sure.
their season's going. And I know they have a lot of talent. I think Samaj Young is probably one of the better receivers in 5A. And if you haven't got to see him play in person, check his huddle highlights out. He's
Sure.
one of the more elusive and better slot receivers in the state for my money, and just a overall fun watch. So I know Cooper has a lot of talent. Their quarterback's good and everything, but it's just a matter of they play SLP, which is a tough one. And I think the Armstrong game, I think that's going to be a better game. I would have gave it to Armstrong 2 weeks ago pretty easily, but seeing how Armstrong is trending, I think that game can turn out really competitive.
Yeah. The only clips, like I've watched Cooper just a few times on clips, but I think where they struggle is going to be on the O&D line, just the physical size up front. So when they play a team like SLP, who I think is really physical up front on both sides, that gets to be more of a challenge. You can have all the really solid skill guys, but
Right.
you got to protect your quarterback. You got to be able to move the line of scrimmage or stop, hold the line of scrimmage too. So I think that's probably their challenge with that.
Yeah. Sartell played St. Francis tough. I think that was like a 2-point.
It was a 2-point game. Yep. It was a 2-point game.
Came down to the wire. But Highland Park, new to the rankings. Shout out Highland Park.
Yeah.
I
The
love the new
Highlanders.
teams.
The
Yeah.
Highlanders. Yep.
The bagpipes are rocking.
Yep. That's right.
Let's get to the matchups. All right, since you went first, I'll
You go
pick
first. You're gonna take the automatic win here.
I'm trying to think if I need to have a strategy between this, because if I go, I'm gonna go Alexandria, and I think
a tough pick.
Yeah, I think Bemidji can make their quarterbacks back off an injury, and I know they are a primarily running team, but they've been making some noise. I think this is going to be a better game than what people think it's going to be, just because I have Alexandria as the number one team in 5A, but I think Bemidji can make this a contest at the very least. But I'm still picking Alexandria to win this game.
All right. Yeah. I mean, I have to take Bemidji because you took Alec, but I think that's going to be a tough one for the Lumberjacks. In the other game, since you picked that, I'm going to take Chan. I think a balanced run pass game defeats a really sound run game. I think one of the things that Chaska ran into at the end of that game is, you have a solid run team where you're run focused and you're behind, being forced into a pass game at the end is almost impossible. And that was tough. So I'm going to take Chan and the other one in that big rivalry game. It should be fun, but I think Chan's balanced attack defeats Chaska.
Let's go Chaska, get healthy. Give me a win there.
There you go.
Yeah, two interesting games. I know there's more than those two games, but a couple of the ones that have my interest. Let's go to 4A, and I know we got some good games here coming this week, but what are your just initial impressions? You see the top four didn't change. There wasn't there.
I think when you look at this, Byron just blew out Winona 56-10. You were talking about the Orono Zimmerman game, and Zimmerman made that was a good football game. 30-21, Orono gets them. Orono scores 16 points, 2 touchdowns, 2 2-point conversions to to flip that game around. So it was different in the third quarter. So it tells you when you look at that score, it's not indicative of how close that game was. They had the quarterback Maurer 60-yard play action pass, just a strike off PAP to put away the game with that 2-score lead. So they look super solid. It'll be interesting because you look at the matchups now, and you've got Byron playing Cass and Manorville, and you've got Marshall playing Orono. So we've got really good matchups. I honestly think, you have on there, you have Orono 6. I honestly think they're 4, 5 at the worst, if you ask me. I'd slide, maybe Stewartville slide over to 4 and Orono up to 5. That's who I think I'd put in the top 5. But that is, there's some really fun matchups at 4A this week. If I had a chance to get out to some games, I think that Cass and Manorville Byron game is going to be electric.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. Mm-hmm. I think some of my rankings are faulty because I go and see some of these games, and the only game I got to see of Orono was them play Byron and get whacked, Mm-hmm. So that probably leads to me when
overcompensated bias.
Right, exactly.
I understand. I understand.
So that probably leads to that a little bit, which I kind of admitted yesterday when taping with Coach Lance that is a thing that goes into my rankings as well. But yeah, I think when you look at, I can't wait to see what's going to happen Friday night for 4A because
I think the only other team in that top 10 that I think is climbing and could really make a run at the end is Hill Murray. I know I'm biased because Coach Reeves is a friend of mine, and I think he's a super solid football coach. I think he's got his team rolling right now, so I think that's another team that could be around, and really late in the season in the playoffs too. So, but yeah, let's focus back on those 2 games: the Byron, Cass, and Manorville game, and Marshall and Orono will be special. I'm excited for those.
Yes. Before we get to our picks on those games, Hermantown goes down. They played really their only sort of competition this season in Grand Rapids. They did their part in showing them what competition tastes like in a sense.
If I want to defend Hermantown at all, I think the same thing. If we want to go all the way back to 6A, if you're Coach Biscow, using that as an example with Hermantown, do you start getting nervous that you haven't had some close games for your kids to have those experiences? And even a loss sometimes can be a good thing in a way if it doesn't wreck your seeding, right? Because your kids need to have a situation where they're playing from behind. They have to have 2-minute drill when it matters. They have to have they have to be able to punt the ball without getting it blocked at late. All these situations you can't create in practice. So I don't know for Hermantown if that's, maybe this is a good wake-up call, and maybe it's also some experience that they can use as they get to the playoffs. I know those are things that coaches, I would get nervous about. You have situations where how are they going to be when we're behind the first time? How are they going to be when we have to run 2-minute drill to win the game? So I think all of those situations are super beneficial as you're running down the schedule here, getting closer to playoffs when it matters.
Yeah, Holy Angels, 15. They've been a steady climber in the rankings. I remember when they were in the 20s, 4-1. Their only loss comes to Byron in week 1, which I think anybody's going to lose.
Sure.
So that's also a factor. And I think the third row, I like it. I even like Wilmer and getting to see them play a little bit. The South St. Paul, I think they played. Who was it? Dang it. Why am I blanking? Who beat them? South St. Paul.
Yeah, that was last week.
Hill Murray. I think it was Hill Murray.
Yeah. Again, back to my point, Hill Murray. But I think, Coach Gunderson at Holy Angels, they've been around in the state run for a lot of years. He's a solid coach, and he gets his teams ready. I think Totino Grace is another team that is coming around. So you see some familiar teams and go to the end of the season for a reason. I think that those coaching staffs are been successful for a reason, so they can make those adjustments and get teams ready when it counts.
And one more team to highlight is Benilde St. Margaret. They played Stewartville week 1, kind of the same instance as Holy Angels, but they played Holy Angels week 2,
Sure.
and they lost a close game
Mhm.
with them. And then I think they beat a SMB team that prior to that was undefeated, and I know they haven't played a ton of competitive programs,
Sure.
but I think Benilde, I know they got some playmakers. I like their quarterback, and I think that Stewartville game, again, it was one of those games where you think, although it was jarring in the sense that Myers threw like 4 interceptions, but I think I was on record saying that it wasn't really his fault. It
Yeah.
was like 4th and long, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Is a matter of situation and play calling and the
Sure.
situation he was put in.
Yep.
But I think when you think back, although BSM did get handled, I think the score is better than what it shows against Stewartville. So I think that's again a team at 16 that can also be a little frisky. They played
Yeah, and two, it's like
Marshall
these
the
teams are
last
not.
week.
Yeah, and these teams are we have a big board here, but they're all in different sections. So, you're talking about a team like Totino Grace that even though they're 13, they end up in the state quarterfinals, with those other teams at the time. So we don't have these pared down yet to who's going to eliminate somebody, and you're just trying to look at who's the talented teams in the moment. So I think we got to take that into account as well.
For sure. Shout out Cloquet, North St. Paul, Providence Academy. Some new suspects to
Yeah,
the top 25 list.
yeah,
I think North St. Paul played, I want to say Chisago. It was Saturday game that they won. So yeah, some fresh meat to the top
yeah,
25, which I always
yeah,
like highlighting.
yeah.
And then let's get to the picks. Why we're here, the
Okay.
virtual currency.
Yes. Podcast.
I went first last
Ooh,
time, so
hoo, hoo.
it's the ball's in
Ooh.
your court.
I'm gonna go on that. I'm gonna start with the Orono Marshall game, and I'm gonna take Marshall.
Okay. All right. Go Spartans.
I'm writing these down so I don't forget.
I'm too. Don't
Yeah.
worry. And if you lie next week, I got them right
Nope.
here.
That's
So
right. Hit the go to the clip.
yeah, man, that gives me a Byron game that I think it's under my impression that I think Byron's gonna win state. That's how impressive I think they are. And I get they're playing a Casson Manterville team. Yes, W pronunciation got it the
Yes.
first time.
Got it.
But I think this Byron team is an absolute freight train, and it's one that's headed to US Bank quickly. So I'm gonna take Byron.
That's bold. I'm glad you did because I would have picked Cass and Manorville on that one.
Really?
I think they're solid. I've watched clips on them and watched their game previous week. I love what they do on both sides of the ball. I think if there's a loss on the schedule for the Bears, that's going to be Casson. So we'll see. But I'm excited to see that game. I got a bunch of huddle links ready to go just to follow those scores.
Yes. I mean, I would say not similar in style, but similar teams in the sense of
Yep,
like top, this
I would agree
season.
with that. I would
They
agree with
have
that.
the same expectations, I guess, for themselves. And that's
Yep.
where,
Well, and I think Casson's been a successful program as well over the years. They won a state championship a few years ago, so they're not intimidated to play. By, you know what I mean? Like they are a top tier team as well. They're not going in there like they're just some kind of huge underdog. Their kids are going to believe.
right.
So yeah,
Byron, 44 points per game this season. Casson Manterville, just around 40 if you go to the nearest 10th.
sure.
And then points allowed is 8 for Byron, which is impressive. And we talked about their defensive scheme a little bit in a previous podcast. And Casson Manterville, 14 points allowed. So
Mm-hmm.
similar stats offensively and defensively when it comes to just points for and points against. And
Right.
I think we don't need those stats to tell you that this game is going to be
No.
one to watch.
It's all these games. I feel like these big kind of rivalry, high ranked games. If you're going to win the game, I know it's coach talk, but don't turn the ball over, don't get tragic penalties, and don't have a blow up on special teams. You can't have a block punt. You can't have a run back on a kickoff. You got to get your point afters. You look at a few games. Just look at the Andover Anoka game. All those points were scored, and what did it come down to? 2 PATs. Over all those touches. So it's the little things when you're playing, really good teams, because they don't let you off the hook when you make a mistake.
Yeah, indeed. So Byron and Orono is the teams that I will be cheering for.
Got it.
Here we go. Let's go down another class.
Yeah. Hold on a second. I got a wardrobe change here.
Here we go. Let's see it.
I got.
Yeah, there it is.
I know they didn't win, but I got some Holy Family gear shared with me, so I got to put that on. Whether you win or lose, you share the gear. You got it, right?
Yes.
So
most definitely
throw that on. Yep.
And a loss to Annandale in the fashion that they did, it's not a bad loss. We talked about, we'll start with that game. When I was thinking,
you were there, right?
The game couldn't start any worse. You could, start the game 100 times, and this would be the worst possible scenario for Holy Family to dig themselves out of. Not only because it's a bad situation, but because of the team they're playing as well. That's even a bigger hole to dig themselves out of. Because if they were playing, an average team in their class, it wouldn't be, it's just a bad start, and they'll, win the game by 30 eventually. But that's not the type of game that they were playing. But I just thought Holy Family got out physicaled. Mm-hmm. They had their chances. They actually went up in the half by 1 point. And I think they could have won in the half. They just weren't able to punch it in before half in the red zone. They had their opportunities. I'd like to see them use the field a little bit more. I know you can get into, all these play calling scenarios, but there's just a lot of space. And I remember them really targeting the boundary side, which I think it's an overreaction, because it's a lot of the dads in the stands that are like, run to the wide side, run to the wide side. And
well, I was asked, what defense are they playing? What defense are they in that you're saying that they should do that, right?
It's not how that works. You don't run to the wide side every time. But I just remember Kevin, I've seen him play in the offseason. Number one, really good player. And he was just ISO'd up in man coverage on the wide side of the field. And I was right in front of him just waiting for it, because when you're got so much field to play with, he can run a slant, he can run a corner, a fade, whatever. And I was just waiting for it. They ended up not doing it that play. I think they booted to the short side, and then the next play they ran a fade to him on the short side, and I think it got batted down or whatever. But all that to say, I think Holy Family competed really well against Annandale, and it just came down to Annandale being more physical. But it's not like Holy Family was.
I guess, my take on it too is from a situation like I talked about previously with Hermantown. Annandale hasn't been tested this year. This is the first time they've been behind all season. I think Holy Family has been tested quite a few times. They've been in 2-minute drill situations. I'll give Holy, even though they lost the game, I'll give them props for not collapsing. You started off with a safety and then kick the ball after them. They march in and score on you, and it's 9-0 before you can blink. And they shut them out the rest of the half, and actually could have been up 14-9. Instead, they're up 10-9 at half. And that's a credit to that team, because that's a leadership thing by your players on the field, not to panic. But yeah, definitely the physical size of Annandale is a thing. And that's what they've been doing to people. So I would not be surprised to see these two teams playing in the state championship game. I think they're both that good. They're going to be on opposite sides of the bracket. So we shall see.
One more just schematic thing wise that I kind of texted you about was like the muddle huddle that Annandale does, where they let their receivers go out early and their line breaks and they just get on the ball, and their tight end gets on the ball, and the defense is trying to figure out the strength. They're trying to figure out, all sorts of stuff. And Annandale gets on the ball and snaps. I think
Yep.
that's one of the biggest things that makes Annandale as dangerous
They
as
did.
their
I
offense is.
think for Holy Family the previous week, Howard Lake, another team that does that as well. Or no, excuse me, Glencoe Silver Lake. I'm sorry, is a run up to the ball. Like just they had a penalty to start the game because the quarterback wasn't set how fast they're snapping the ball. So that's a thing. There's no doubt about it. I think that's very University of St. Thomas. Coach Caruso has been doing that kind of stuff for a while. So it is a thing you have to, and it's hard to have scout teams practice that, right? Because they're off a script card. So
Yes, it is. It's definitely a
uh,
game rep. Them. What
yeah,
else
for
you got?
sure. I guess I don't disagree with 2, 3, 4. I think those are solid teams. Because Coach Walter was on last week from Annandale, and he talked about Piers. I wanted to see what he was talking about, so I watched the whole Piers game this last week. They are a solid team. They do some things really well. Their defense is solid. They had 2 defensive touchdowns in that game, pick 6 and a scoop and score. I like what they do on offense as well. They're super sound running the football. So I can see where he's talking about that team. They're well coached. So I think 6 for them is a really solid place. But I don't know. They don't have those crossovers. So it'll be interesting to see once we get to playoff time.
Indeed. DGF played Staples Motley, which Staples Motley isn't in this class, but they're in a lower one. I think they played them fairly well, especially although it is a lower class. Staples Motley is one of the teams in the class that they're in. So I think it's not terribly, and you see a team again move up after a loss. When you look at who it was to, you can be like, oh yeah, most teams would have got blasted by them, but they hung in there. Yeah, we got all
stuff.
fresh meat pretty much at the bottom.
What do we got?
Pretty much Concordia. I just found out where Concordia Academy was.
Isn't it in Fergus Falls?
Whoa.
No, where's that one?
Maybe I thought it was in it's near Roseville High School.
Oh, that can okay. I'm thinking of, oh no, you're right. I got you.
I beat you on the
No, you're right.
I gotta mark this.
There's another private school in Fergus.
A moment in history.
Talked about too. So yeah. Well, hey, you pronounce it right. It's Concordia. You got it.
Tough one there. But they beat Breck, I think, by 2 points or whatever. And I think they were both undefeated going into that game. And I think it's a little bit tough because they haven't played the toughest of schedules. So how much do we actually know about?
Right.
But it's still fun for the program and whatever. I know Breck has been down as of recently in the past few years, that it's just fun to see, a team having success, no matter, who they're playing or whatever, that you still have to go out there and execute your game plan to win games, no matter who you're playing. So
absolutely.
Let me just see if there's any St. Croix Lutheran, 5-0, Annandale, Pine Island, Waseca, Piers. Here's where I get in trouble when I start listing in the pronunciations. It's Pequot, right?
Yeah, it's Pequot. I'm going through there. In a couple weeks. Yeah.
Nice.
Beautiful area up there. You ever been to Pequot?
I have not. I don't even know where it is.
Oh man, it's north. It's just north of Brainerd. They have a really cool water tower that looks like a bobber. Sweet.
I'll have to check it out. And you'll have to pick up a shirt while you're
going through. I'm calling up there. I'm right now. Email Pequot. I want to wear a Pequot shirt next time I'm on here.
Albert Lee picking up a big win, 5-0 last week. So that's also good, and that wraps up the undefeateds. I may have missed somebody. I think I got all of them.
I think you're right.
But they beat Fairmont 29-24 last week. It sounds like they had a injury to receiver 1. I don't know. I haven't heard pretty much anything about it. I know somebody mentioned something, again, one of the injuries that could affect things, but a team is more than just one player as well. So.
Yeah, unless they're that dynamic player that you really go to. But let's not let's back up just a little bit. Let's not blow past Minneapolis North. I think they're a team at this level too. They play quite a different schedule than everybody else. With the city
Twin
teams.
Cities, yep.
But they had another blowout win. I know they play Roosevelt this week, but they're going to finish undefeated. They're after they beat Washburn, they're going to be in a good situation for their section, and they're going to be a Final Four team, I think. So Coach Oway has always got it going there.
Yeah, I mean, the Johnson team is solid. Like, they have playmakers. They have some dudes over there, and I know Johnson thought they had a chance going into that game.
Yeah, 45-18 though.
Yeah, exactly. When you think of Johnson could try to convince himself that they have a chance at that game, when you talk about they do play a different schedule, they play, they haven't really played anybody. They haven't played anybody. A second team is as good as us. And Washburn took them. You can kind of try to make yourself believe, but North shutting the door on that, and they have a pretty easy walk to an undefeated schedule. And one of the thing of rankings wise is North might be a team that goes down, not based on what they're doing, but if teams have more impressive wins or whatever, it's kind of just something that's going to happen to the rankings, and it's not a matter of what they're doing or exactly. So,
well, we can rank them wherever we want, but they're going to end up with a 1 seed. So then, it's just who they cross over with at the end, I suppose. But
they're going to be an interesting team to watch, especially when you get into those.
I agree.
games.
What's our pick game? Ooh.
Albert Lee, St. Peter, and I wanted to get some teams that I want to avoid talking about the same teams every week, So a Brooklyn Center game, Breck, like we talked about, coming off the tough loss to Concordia, and then playing the Brooklyn Center team. I got to go see them. I know this is they got some young playmakers over there that are chomping at the bit, and I've got to see them not only in a game last season, but at a 7-on-7 versus Camden this season, and impressive. I think this is going to be, although we talked about Breck's schedule, they've played Harding, Edison, Twin Cities Charter, St. Cloud Tech, St. Agnes. Concordia Academy is really the only team that has pretty much wins other than St. Cloud Tech on their schedule, and that you see that's why their record is. And then Brooklyn Center, I think they started off 2-0. They went 2 losses, and then I just think it's going to be a good game, and it's going to give Breck, if they're expecting to walk over this Brooklyn Center team. I don't want to maybe spoil my pick if I'm going to pick, but I think this game could go to the team with the inferior record. But with that being said, you can be mean and take my pick, but whatever.
Well, I'm going to start off and take Albany over St. Peter.
Ooh, Albert Lee, Albany.
I'm sorry.
Really?
Oh, Albert Lee. I'm sorry, not Albany. Yes. I got truth. I know what I meant.
That was just
say it right.
mistake.
I got
wasn't a logo error. It was just
that's me. No, that's me. I'm looking at my sheet and saying the wrong thing. I knew what I meant. No. Yeah. Sorry, Albert Lee. I got those cats over St. Peter.
Nice. Give me a St. Peter team that I've kind of a fan of. Although
Carter Wendroth is from St. Peter. Carter Wendroth.
Where St. Peter is?
Yeah, it's where Gustavus is.
Okay. Yeah, we went over that.
Yeah.
Just a refresher on geography. Thank you.
Another place with a great quick trip. We get those guys on our.
There's a lot of them.
I know. No, there's not one. You always need one sometimes. Not in the right place.
And then I'm gonna pick Brooklyn Center, the Centaurs.
I was gonna say, do you know their mascot? And you already said it. Nice.
Of course I do.
Probably the best mascot. Nobody else is a centaur. Half man, half horse.
We got Cardinals.
I know eagles. Lots of eagles and Cardinals. Lots of birds. All right, I got Breck. I'm feeling good about that pick. I know you like underdogs, but I'm going to take Breck.
I don't think they're underdog, Coach. I don't know.
I'm just saying. Based on the paper, it is, but
based on the record, the records lie sometimes.
I hear you.
All right, here we go. Let's go to 2A. I think the top 3 are pretty solidified. I got to watch Triton. They played St. Charles. last Thursday. I think pretty much they came out of it. Hopefully Peterson, I think his name is. I think I was saying Peterson, but it's Peterson.
Yeah, I think it must be Norwegian descent, something like that.
Just a impressive player. I know he's going to go play tight end for Penn State when he goes there. That's what he's recruited for. But man,
he's gonna be like the Warren tight end they had.
Him as a quarterback, I don't know.
Just a stud athlete.
Drew Aller, move over.
Yeah, right.
Go in there, but yeah, Triton definitely impressed me, and not just him, but the playmakers he's throwing to. I know they lost to Chatfield. I think that's their only loss of 21-14. I think that one was. And I know Peterson's health has been in question at the first half of the season as well, so that also goes into it.
Right.
Kind of hard to judge without being able to look at every play from their season, but I think that's definitely something that feel really good about the top 5. I feel really good.
Yeah, my game of the week. First of all, I have to talk about Jackson County Central because they're just dominating. I think 7 touchdowns is the least they've scored in a game. So they crushed Minnesota Valley Lutheran 49-7. My game of the week, though, that I watch is Staples Motley and DGF, Dover's Cutton Felton Knight. I wanted to see what Staples Motley was all about. They stay undefeated with a 28-18 win.
I got to watch a little bit of it. Tell me what you saw.
DGF scored first, but then Staples Motley comes right back. They had a 40-yard. They run a power read play, which I love. Quarterback pulls it and just runs the field on him. This is the week for play action pass. When all my clips, man, this is the time where these run teams start catching people, rolling safeties down, and linebackers committing and leaving people in seams. DGF comes back out of a wishbone formation. They kind of run a motion wishbone stuff over the top. They hit the tight end on a 50-yarder. But then third quarter, Staples Motley gets a stop, the 2-point conversion to keep it 20-18. And then they put a TD on at the end, so to make it 28-18. But like I was saying in this game, they stopped that 2-point conversion early in the fourth to make it 20-18. Otherwise, it's tied up when Staples Motley gets the ball, and it's a whole, it's just different. So heck of a game. Dilworth Felton was right there. So I'm just saying it, like, from their standpoint, if you're saying Staples Motley is third, that game is just a play different, and you look where DGF is. So solid team, though. I liked watching them play. They do some fun stuff on offense, and their defense is obviously pretty sound as well. So that was my game of the week. I also wanted to shout out to Jackson I want to pronounce it right, Bartkovitz, stud quarterback at Holdingford. The Huskers broke the school record, 331 yards passing, 4 TDs, and they thumped Minnewaska 39-6. So that nice looking. I watched some of his throws too. They do some good things, and he was winging it all over the place.
Yeah, definitely impressive in person as well. I got introduced to him when I made the trip up there to watch the what was that, week 5 game that they had. And yeah, definitely an impressive player that you're probably going to see playing at the bank at some point this season.
Sure.
So fun stuff. Pillager, a team I want to talk about.
Sure.
5-0. They have the Barnesville win, which we're going to find out, who Barnesville is this week. And I think we'll get to the pick in the game on that. But I think I've been keeping tabs on this Pillager squad, and an interesting team that I'm definitely keeping an eye on. They play the Staples Motley in 2 weeks. I think that's going to be a really good game that I got circled on red in my virtual calendar, that I'm excited to see how that one shakes out and the film that comes through it. You talked about Jackson County Central. Maybe their biggest test of the season is going to be LeSueur Henderson, that they're going to be playing this week. So we'll see kind of what.
I don't know, man. I watched the film. Like they just.
It's a possible run over.
He's just a man among boys.
Yeah,
he's tough. He can do.
It's just going to be interesting to see what they can do against for what I've worth a middle of the pack top 25 team that has talent. Not saying that the other teams don't, but they're just
right.
too
Elite
far
talent.
level,
Yeah,
right?
elite talent. He
So
raises the bar for the rest of the team because the confidence they play with because of that. So I want to go down to that bottom right corner because I see you slid International Falls in there.
yeah, fresh meat.
The Bronco Nagurski.
Yep.
Yep, gotta love that. So
Masabi East, Cannon Fall, like the whole bottom row. I know Pipestone is not new to the top 25, but new this week.
mm-hmm.
Kimball as well, I think, and Cannon Falls, I want to say, have made appearances throughout the season, but we're not on it. I know Masabi East and International Falls are new to the top 25, as well as you see the number 16 team, Maple Lake, and I think yes, they're going to
There
be
it is.
on
Let's go.
the game of the week. Yeah, so the first one we're picking from Staples Motley Barnesville. I think this has just, I don't know. I'm interested to see where this Barnesville team is, in a sense that I think they've been a premier team in their class the past, few seasons.
Sure.
And it's a matter of where things shake out this year. When you look, we'll just go points. Should I? I'm gonna, after the picks, I'll say this because that
It doesn't matter. I know who I'm picking.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm just gonna say the points per game is, in the realm, but it's the points allowed for Barnesville that's kind of the concerning part of 26. The defense isn't as stout as some of what the elite tier would require for a team to make that step. So that's kind of what's missing, and that defense is going to be tested by Staples Motley. I can tell you that much. And then we got Maple Lake and Uppsala.
Uppsala.
That just doesn't sound right.
Yep. Swanville. Uppsala. Yep.
Uppsala.
Yep. Geography again.
Man, that does not sound right. But I trust you. I trust you.
You should on that one. I got it. I know that one.
I'll just call them Swanville.
Yep.
Is it the Patriots? What is it?
It looks like the Patriots. I couldn't say on that, but yeah.
More Patriots.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
I'm guessing there's another town that's the A town in that, because I'm guessing the S is Swanville, the U is Uppsala, and there's another town.
Uppsala, Swanville area.
Area. There you go. Oh, area. I gotcha. So it's a bunch of towns that don't have a name. They just get called area. Gotcha. All right. You go. Me or you?
I think it's you.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna go on the right side first and take Maple Lake.
Okay.
Over Uppsala Swanville.
I have to say, I like that. I like that for me.
Okay, there you go.
All right, and I feel like, I don't know. I'm a fan of Barnesville. I like what they're doing, but I think give me Staples Motley in this one, and I think Uppsala and Staples Motley are going to be a good chance of going 2-0 for me this class. I don't know.
Well, we'll see what happens. You never know, man. It's high school football. Crazy stuff happens. We don't get an injury report. We don't know stuff.
That is true.
Plus, it could be homecoming week. Kids are distracted. Like powder puff game. There's a dance.
What's there to be distracted about out there?
I'm just saying. Could be.
All right, 1A.
All right, hold on a second here. Now, I'm gonna take this hat off. It's getting hot in here.
Review.
I like the hat. I got Coach Johnston sent me the state championship shirt from Minnetonka, 2024. Sent that, and then hold on a second.
Oh, another one.
This is premier. Like, this is elite stuff right here. This is when it gets wild. Like, this is when your team, like, this is
Breckenridge.
This is how big time Breckenridge is. Look at this thing, right? Oh, wow. Little Under Armour. Like, I'm gonna wear this everywhere. This is fantastic.
Speed, nice.
Yeah,
love it.
Heck yeah. So, anyway,
was it last week? Yeah, we got their logo right. They're new and improved. Not Wyoming knockoff.
Yeah, no
logo.
Not Wyoming.
Yeah.
So but yeah, it's fun stuff. So Yeah, I appreciate that. Good friend of mine lives out there. His dad was my high school football coach. So appreciate it, Jason. That's pretty good. And then Coach Johnson from Minnetonka throwing that out there. So we'll see what else we can get. There's some other stuff I'd like to get. I think the other school I'd hit up on here is Murray County Central over there. I looked that one up. That's Rudy the Rebel.
Rudy the Rebel.
Not Yosemite Sam, but I like it. So might
Rudy
reach
the
out
Rebel.
to those guys. So yeah.
I like the teal colors, by the way.
The Falcons.
Yeah, I don't know what the Thunderbirds, the Falcons,
looks just like the Atlanta Falcons in teal.
It does.
My game of the week at this level, Minnetonka blew out, whoever again this week. Sorry, Minnetonka. I love you guys, but the score didn't get me interested to look at it too much. But Breckenridge, Ottertail Central.
Mm-hmm.
I really wanted to evaluate Breckenridge also because they sent me this, and I think their team is really solid. I know it's a 42-0 blowout, but you want to find out why, right? Yeah. So Riley Kappas, the quarterback, solid kid, uses their play action pass really well, finds that there's a tight end wide receiver, kind of looks more like a tight end to me, but he kind of plays in the slot. But they had a bubble go play, that, fake the tunnel and throw the seam, score on that. They had another one, Gabe Armitage, another long play action pass. They run a 4 vertical concept, and then their defense, there's fumbles. They cause fumbles. One of the best plays in the game. His name's Cooper Roberts. Had a one-handed pick and cut back across the field, broke some tackles, and scored. So, but they play Lake Park Audubon this week. So, we'll see. That'll be a tough one. But shout out to Coach Yagi and the Breckenridge Cowboys. So, fun to evaluate their team, rep their gear. What else you got at the 1A level?
Yeah, Breckenridge 5-0, Springfield 5-0, Cleveland 5-0,
Yep.
Minoman, right?
Minoman, you got it. It's Minoman
5-0, Minnetonka 5-0. MIB, I heard the injury bug is going on in old Mountain Iron Buell, so we'll see what happens. They're 5-0. Fillmore Central's 5-0, and then you got a lot of 4-1 teams. I know Parker's Prairie, Red Lake County, Uppsala, like we talked about. That's a cross-class matchup that we picked the last classes, but they're in this class. So for those of you wondering why Uppsala was in the last class's picks, just because some of these, when you get to the 1A to 4A level, there's some crossover that happens between classes, which I think is kind of fun for
it's geography matters,
Yeah.
It's sometimes you play that team just to cut a bus ride down by a couple hours, so I think that happens. And sometimes those towns have changed enrollments, where they used to probably be the same size and now the other one isn't, so they probably used to play each other.
Yeah. The Minoman Red Lake County game was one of the games that I had circled to just see how it went. And it's clear Red Lake County is some sort of legit, or at least better than a lot of teams in their class. You look at Minoman and they've really blanked pretty much everybody. And although it was 21-6, they didn't score half as many points as they usually do as well. So although it's a 21-6 loss, I think it's a tip to the cap for Red Lake County of you guys hung in there against a team that is taking everybody to the woodshed, including a Walker Hackensack Ackley team that is also 15 on my rankings as well. So that's just also, I think Minoman's legit. We don't really need to talk about the top 5 all that much. I'll be interested to see what happens with MIB. I think they have a good game, and we'll pick that one coming up here. But these other teams, I think you see, again, more fresh meat at the bottom. And some of these are returning, kind of like what we were talking about. I know Southland made it as my 25th team at one point this season. Russell Tyler Ruthin also, I think, has been 16 to 20ish range, if I'm remembering right, as well. And they had a brief stint out, but they're back in. I think that's Ashby, Brandon. Gosh, what's the E? Evansville.
Oh yeah.
Yes. I don't know if they're rocking just no mascot over there. I respect it either
I
way.
don't know. Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Yeah.
That'd be something I gotta do some research on that.
I do
Just
like that Barnum uses the logo from a Bentley for their B. That's pretty sweet, right? Am I
it is,
right? Yeah.
it
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
pretty sweet. And then I found out how to say Bram
Yeah. There you go. Bram.
by Google. I was
Yes.
like
Nice. Bram.
I was trying my hardest to say the H when I was
Oh no.
doing it. And I was
Nope.
like, I'm just gonna ask Google on how to do this before the coach shows me up on the podcast and
Way to
tells me
learn.
how to say
Way to do
it.
your
So
homework. Yeah. Big
uh,
basketball school.
really.
Yeah. A lot of stud basketball players came out of there for a while.
Yeah, so I mean, that's and I think I was looking at 1A. I think there's a decent amount of good games going on this week. I'm just gonna check real quick from uh what I looked at.
Yeah, I did not. Honestly, I'll be honest with you on 1A. I did watch the Breckenridge game. I did not do the matchups. I think I gave
Mayor
up
Lutheran
because,
playing Cleveland this week. That's gonna be
yeah,
a good one. A
I
4-1
think,
team going against a 5-0 team.
yeah.
We got I want to avoid the ones that I picked to be
Uh,
Park Christian Nevis is probably going to be a decent game. I would say Otter Tail Central and Parker's Prairie. That's two 4-1 teams facing off this week that I think is going to be an interesting result. Like Park Audubon and Breckenridge, we already talked about that one.
mhm.
But just some of the games that I think are going to be worth our while to keep tabs on and try to find highlights as much as it is hard to find some of the highlights for
Mhm.
the smaller school teams. But
Sure.
yeah, let's get into the picks.
Yeah, let's
Get
do it.
into the cash. Intriguing matchups for week 6. You picked last time, so I'm gonna go. Oh man, I took I'm gonna go D River as my pick.
All
D
right.
River over
I can
Bram.
appreciate it. Yeah, the Warriors over Bram. I got Bram then. I'll take that. I know you said MIB's got some injuries, but I'm going to stick with them.
Okay,
I think they've got.
riding it
I
out.
think they've got enough winning tradition there to
I want to dive in
hang on.
their coaching staff because I remember the one MIB game that I went to. It was just like trick play city and just like a bunch of unique calls, and that was when they were a 9-man team. And I haven't got to watch a ton of MIB now that they're playing with 11 guys instead of 9.
Sure.
So I think that's something on my to-do list, one of many things on my to-do list to look at just to see what the difference in the offense is, and is the coaching staff, and are they finding new ways to get creative and kind of use what they were using last year
Sure.
to do it in 1A with 11 guys this year. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's a good pick. It'll be interesting to see with the injuries what happens with that. We know that can play a factor, and hopefully they aren't anything too serious, and they'll be back for playoffs
Right.
in a
Yeah.
few weeks at
Yeah.
least. So, all right, we got our picks for 1A. Let's go down to 9-player football. Love
Yeah.
it. We had
Uh,
you did
yeah.
some deep
Yeah.
diving
I did
in
some deep
some of
dive
these
here because
matches.
I felt badly last week because I had nothing on this. I spent my time on some other games, but obviously Hills Beaver Creek stays one. They rocked Granada Huntley. My team that I wanted to see was Kitson County Central. They played Clearbrook Gonvick,
Mhm.
21-8 win. Closer game than the score. But I really loved what they do. You talk about 9-man. You really have 3-man protection. They usually attach a tight end in there.
Yep.
But it is interesting. They run a lot of stuff out of the gun. They run a trap. I was telling you before, a lot of teams this week that I watched were big play action pass because they run the ball heavy. So they mixed in some big play action pass, really controlled the ball well. Their defense really didn't give much hope to Clearbrook. the score was closer than it should be, but there was never any like red zone challenges late in that game. So, but it's fun to watch Kitson County. They're a solid team. I can't argue with where you have them. I'm always a Stephen Argyle fan because I played college football with some guys that went to school there. I think those are tough kids up there. But otherwise, that
Kingsland
top
got
three,
upset. They
yeah, kind of
were number
surprised too. Yeah, I saw
3,
that.
Spring
Yep,
Grove,
yep,
uh, got the best of them, which I know it's a loaded section for 9-man
right,
historically as
right,
well,
right.
that they just play so many good teams. I know Kingsland just last week beat Leroy by 1 score, so, it's just a lot of competitive games going on in that section that they like to beat up on each other, and
Sure.
it's a shame that only, you think about it,
Yeah, it'd be nice to
it's
seed it,
loaded
but the
sections.
problem you run into is geography. It's
Yeah,
not like the Metro where you can seed the 6A teams because almost all of them are in the Metro.
right.
So it's not a huge deal if Andover has to drive down to Shakopee, but it's a huge deal if
If they gotta go up
a
to
team's got a
Kitchen County.
if Hills Beaver Creek has to play international, or you know what I mean, has to
Right.
drive up to the Iron Range or something. You know what I'm saying? So like I understand it. They try to keep that geography tight until you get to US Bank, but yeah, you don't want people on an all day bus ride. So I
Yeah,
get it.
I like the Mabel Canton team, and, just before we move on from Hills Beaver Creek, I'm gonna get to go watch their game this week on Friday against Egerton, so
Mhm.
um, that'll be is it with the did we
I
talk
think
about
it's Edge. I think it's Edgerton.
I knew
I
it.
think.
I
I
knew it.
think it is.
Edgerton.
That's how I've heard it at least.
Gosh, dang it.
Yeah. Well, that happens.
Um,
It's a
yeah,
learning experience.
so I don't know. I think Houston dropped 11 spots. I can't remember off the top of my head. I think mm, I can't remember, but Houston also, it's one of those situations where I think they beat Alden Conger 2 weeks ago. I want to say, yep, 2 weeks ago they beat Alden Conger
Hmm.
by a 1-score game, and then they come back, which I thought Alden Conger's a pretty good team
Right.
in the 9-player class, and they lose to a Wabasha Kellogg team that I think is a team that I expected them to beat. But you know, uh, it's one of those things where Wabasha Kellogg lost to Alden Conger by 40 plus points. So it's like, how do you want me to rank these? Because they're
Right.
probably going to have a problem no matter which way I do it.
Right.
But yeah, other than that, I think the Ogilvy's another team that dropped some spots due to the last week's update as well. I think Hillcrest is still undefeated, I want to say. Let me check before I undefeated teams. Kitson County Central at
Yep.
6-0. Because they played a week 0 game. That's
Yep.
why
Yep.
they have Bertha Hewitt, Hillcrest Lutheran. Yes, they are undefeated. It's just one of those things where Northern Freeze is probably, I guess, Border West, I would say, is the best team that they've played.
I think does Kitson County Central play Northern Freeze this week, I think.
Um,
Am I right?
yep,
Yeah, that'll be a good game.
yeah,
Be a
and
good game.
if I'm thinking of it, like I thought Northern Freeze was a team last year that was like
Mhm.
bottom of the barrel in 9-player. If I'm right, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that was the story behind Northern
Yeah.
Freeze of they haven't won a game for a decently long time, and this is a season where they're starting to turn around. And I know they have cracked into my top 25. They were in it last week, not in it in this week's rendition, but yeah, also a good game that is gonna test Northern Freeze because they're one of the teams that they haven't played, one of the premier teams by any
Mhm.
means, but at
Right.
least you can only play who you can play.
Right.
And yeah, so uh Red Rock Central, another undefeated team. I don't think I would my argument would be they haven't played much of anybody as well when I was doing the rankings. Um, so hard to tell. Good for you guys. Egerton's also Edgerton. Gosh, dang it.
It's all right.
That's also a team that's undefeated, but they haven't played a lot, and they're going to go against the Hills Beaver Creek team that nothing needs to be said about
they're solid.
what they're going to be playing. So that's like Edgerton. If you have any sort of problem with your ranking of maybe you feel a little snubbed, maybe it doesn't even have to be a win against Hills Beaver Creek, but at least
compete.
Exactly.
Find a way to be around at the end of the game.
Yeah, make the score look better than, or at least the game better than what the score tells us, because I think it's probably going to be one of those games. But I just can't wait to see this Hills Beaver Creek team play, because I think it's going to be.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear back and see it live is always better, I think. So.
For sure. Let's get to the picks here. Let's go intriguing Week 6 matchups. Yeah, I mean, we got Cromwell right on the right side. That's Bertha Hewitt on the right, and Cromwell right, the Cardinal. Shout out more Cardinals.
Did I go first this time or you? I can't remember.
Well, it's a free pass for whoever goes first.
Well, maybe. You don't.
I'm taking Hills Beaver Creek.
All right, you take that. I'll take Cromwell. And I got Edgerton.
I can just see it. Edgerton's locker room is it's gonna be a free pass
for you. Yeah, they're like, that's gonna be huge letters on like poster size for their kids this week. Just
by all means,
next 2 days of practice is gonna be just bulletin board material.
Hey, if that makes them compete or win, I mean, heck.
Yeah, and it gets me more podcast bucks. I'm all about it. All
right. Well, our picks are in everything. Every class is talked about. Well, only time will tell, I guess, on what we got going forward. Yeah, the podcast bucks will be exchanged next week. We'll see who.
We got to keep the pot going. You got to get a special graphic that shows my money on there. And your money.
I can definitely make a graphic or something, because I think it's something fun that it'll be fun to keep track of. And make us cheer for teams that we might be not paying attention to otherwise.
Right. I'll do a deep dive in those games for sure. So I'm looking forward to next week. There's some really good matchups that we've pointed out already in the show, and you get through Week 6, and now things, just again, everything keeps unveiling itself for some of the seeding coming up. That's going to be fun to see after we get through the MEA week.
Yes, I cannot wait for what we got. I think I'm going to Burnsville, Apple Valley on Thursday.
Rivalry game.
To Hills Beaver Creek on Friday. Got the day off, so that'll be a day trip down there. And then Saturday, I think there's a few Twin Cities games that happen, like 12, 1, and 2. I'm going to try to go to some of those and get as many highlights as I can. I know Cretan's going to be one of them. I think they're playing Kennedy on their homecoming game. So yeah, interesting week. It'll be fun to check in again next week. Hopefully you'll have more merchandise to show for.
We should have some. I'll see what I can track down for this next week. And I'm looking forward to the big games. And like I said, if people that are watching this, if you like it, subscribe to it, share it out to other people on your team. Like, the more viewers we get, I think the more fun it is to hear people's feedback as well. So hope you tune in again next week. Yeah, it is. Yes. We had record views this last week. So let's keep it going.
All right, man.
Well,
thank you, Coach, for joining me. And thank you,
Have a great week. See ya.